do I have a subject today? Ah, and I was waiting around all morning for God to give me something that I knew would make a difference in people's lives. And sure enough, here it is. Dating before healing. Let me tell you, I am an expert. I am an expert on this subject. I have done it many times. I've been married 3 times, engaged 3 additional times. And I'm not saying that those weren't coming from a place of love, but honestly, most of them were coming from wounds. Most of the decisions I made, I married a man that I knew 5 months. Not that I'm not a hopeless romantic, which I am, which many of us are. I do believe in love. However, the decision to grab on so quickly comes from a broken place. I know now that it came from a broken place. You know, then it just is packaged differently. It looks differently to you. You're like, oh my God, he's the one. He asked me to marry him. I'm going to marry him. Don't know nothing about him. He turned out to be a great guy. You know, I did divorce him for other reasons, but he turned out to be a great guy anyway. But I am aware that the decision to do so early came from a wound, an open wound, a fear, doubt. And we do that. You know, I have to urge anybody, and I'm not just talking to women, okay, men, because I've met a whole lot of y'all that have made decisions out of wounds as well. And when we do that, we are cheating the other person. Let me be clear, because we are not ready, and we should not be in a relationship, and everything from our past, everything we've been through will come up out and show up in that relationship. For example, I didn't realize, because I hadn't really dug in yet and done the work, I didn't realize that I had self-esteem issues at the time. So when I got married the second time, my husband, you know, we were just in the early stages of marriage. We had been married like 3 weeks. And he said, oh, you know, babe, when we were in the mall, did you see those shoes that lady had on? You would look so good in those, babe. You would look so good in those. Now, because I had untreated wounds, because I had holes in my heart that I hadn't even began to try to close, I took that the wrong way. I have to apologize to this man this day, because I took that as him wanting to change me, or him comparing me to another woman, or him wanting me to wear something somebody else had because I wasn't good enough. Honey, I went in my house and took every shoe with a heel on it and threw it at his head. I'm not proud of this behavior. I just got to be honest with y'all. I have always been transparent. So the point is, wounds. I'm tossing shoes over the fence at his head because of wounds. Because he was actually thought he was trying to say something nice, you know, maybe. But I took it the wrong way, and it's not his fault. It's my issue. My issue. Just like, for instance, you know, if one of my husbands used to like to go to the garage and smoke cigars. Normal thing, right? For a person that's not operating out of wounds. But because I was operating out of wounds, I interpreted him wanting to go into the garage to smoke cigars as him wanting to be away from me. So therefore, every time he did it, it caused me to tap into my abandonment issues, my untreated abandonment issues, you know. And see, I'm so happy to share this, because a lot of us have this behavior, and a lot of us don't realize that it comes from wounds. And when we haven't dealt with those issues, we will wreak havoc, honey. Havoc on somebody else's life. So if you did it, go back and apologize to that person. You know what I'm saying? Go treat those wounds. Go mend some of those holes and go back and be like, you know what? I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize that when I was acting so erratic and so irrational, it was coming from a place of pain. It was coming from a place of fear. It was coming from not having love sometimes at the beginning of our lives. So when we get love, we're scared to lose love. So therefore, we grab onto that love so hard. We do that to our children too sometimes. I'm guilty of that. My kids can tell you, honey, I love them so hard. They're like, Mom, you know, it's okay. Like, we moving. I'm like, what? You're leaving me. So, dating when you're not healed should not be done. It shouldn't. And if you take the time to heal, you know, then a lot of things that you might have dealt with, a lot of things you might have put up with, otherwise you won't. You're like, nah, no, not them shenanigans, buddy. You know, sometimes we get, when we get to that place, ladies, we get, you know, accused of being, you know, too hardcore. Like, no, I'm not hardcore. I'm a very soft woman, honey. I love being a woman. I love the distinction between male and female. I love that I'm soft, make sugar and spice and everything nice. You know what I'm saying? I like a man to have muscles and be stronger than me. And so I love being a woman. I don't care how alpha you think I am. I love being female, and I have all the skills when it comes to knowing how to lay down that strong lion in me and say, baby, how are you? Do you need me to fix your plate? Are you hungry? I love being like that. But most people don't get to see that side because, you know, they come with that nonsense. So this is my point. Try the hardest to deal with your wounds, because if you don't deal with your wounds, you will sabotage relationships. And I'm not saying I sabotaged all my marriages. I'm not saying that, because I didn't. However, in hindsight, when I look back, I do see the error of my ways. You know, I didn't know better. You know, we can only do better when we know better. I didn't know that a lot of the feelings and a lot of the arguments and a lot of the erratic behavior and a lot of the emotional explosions came from my not being healed, not attempting to say, wait a minute, why are you perceiving this way, Sabrina? Why are you acting this way? Why are you crying? Why did you just interpret a simple, innocent statement as an insult? You know? So when you heal, though, the person that you become a mate to, oh, won't they get a treasure? You know, won't they get somebody who goes inside first and is slow to respond because they're checking themselves first? They say, let me make sure. Let me just be sure that my response is warranted. Let me just be sure that I'm not internalizing something based on something I've been through. And once you get there, honey, see, I have no doubt that my next relationship will be successful, which is why it's not a priority right now, because I have so many other things I'm doing and the time that it takes to be in a relationship. I want to be 100% committed, but I have no doubt that I can manifest exactly the type of man I want. Now, I won't list him. I'll do that for another video because it'll be a little bit long. But I can be, you know, God said be detailed. I got some details, and now I took some off the list. However, you know, I know how to be in a relationship, a productive relationship now that I have attacked. It's like knocking bricks down. It's like knocking down a brick wall. You attack all those past issues one by one. One by one, you identify them, you attack them, you say, okay, you know what, this is me. This is my issue. This is my problem. And we don't punish other people, because other people suffer when in the relationship, in the marriage, when we have not dealt with our wounds. And I would love to be able to, not that all wounds completely go away and there aren't times in life when they creep back up, but I would love to be in a relationship with somebody who, you know, we can talk about that together, and we can say, you know what, you know, this is why I responded that way. I'm so sorry, baby. This is my issue. Please forgive me. You know, and this is not a dating situation, but I remember one time when my sister had went off to college, and it was just me and her, you know, after we lost our grandmother, and, you know, we didn't have parents. So when she went off to college, I was so heartbroken. And when she didn't come home for Thanksgiving, being that I was all she had, I interpreted that as abandonment. But it wasn't. She was a young, new college student living her life. You know, she didn't need to come home to a little sister. But because of my wounds, I saw that as something else, and I suffered because of it, and she was out in college having a ball. So we have to deal with our wounds before we try to date, please. You know, I'm telling you, I'm an expert. I always talk to you from experience. I have been there. I have done it. I have sabotaged several relationships because I wasn't ready, and now I know better. So I'm excited. Woo, 2021, honey, Mr. Man, come on. I love you guys. Sabrina Fisher Reece. And please attempt to heal before you date.